Good evening or good day. Thank you for welcoming me back into your space once again. So, this evening I had a rather strange experience. My mother, whom I affectionately refer to as the demon, doesn't have coverage on this particular evening um, as far as an aide to come and help take care of her. So I didn't really go over um, on those evenings where she doesn't have coverage of an aide. In addition to that, we had ordered some traditional soul food um, to check out whether reports of how clean this particular place was able to clean this delicacy, if their cleaning methods were really up to her standards. So I, of course, had it delivered to myself. Um, because she can be difficult, I was sure to FaceTime her when I opened the package and when I placed the contents into a pan. I took everything over to her home. I was hoping to have her inspected, approve it, and then I would do the cooking, either at her house or preferably back in mine. When I made this offer to do the cooking, I didn't even get as far as to say whether it would be at her house or my house, just my doing the cooking. She immediately rejected and said, "Oh no, you know how I am about the particular delicacy. It has to be cleaned by me." And I had to remind her, but you're not actually cleaning it, you're just inspecting it. And from what you're saying, there's nothing more to be done because they've done an excellent job. So, um, why don't you allow me to cook it? I could see that there was some resistance, and I decided I was not going to engage. I could not see logistically how she would be able to do the cooking um, because she's bedridden. She does have a hot plate in her room, but this would require someone to be over the stove, to be able to shut it off at a particular time, to be able to add some additional ingredients. And all of them would not be able, the ingredients, to be sitting on hand immediately. But rather than debate and go into something that would certainly turn into a terrible argument, I disengaged and said, I don't have the energy. Um, if you want to do the cooking, that's fine. She asked me to go to the garage find another particular pot. Of course, the pot that she asked me to look for was not where she said it would be, which is par for the course. Things are very seldom where she believes they're going to be. But I did find another pot, which I brought in. I washed out, took to her room, um, helped put a little glove on her hand, uh, opened up the package for another one, and she was able to proceed with more thorough inspection. I asked, was there anything else that she needed? Did she want to eat anything? Um, so she looked through the app to see whether there was something that she would want to order, and there wasn't. So she just asked me to make her some soup, which I did. And by make, I mean open a can of soup and microwave it for her. Though I have made soup in the past by scratch. So she then wanted some items from the grocery store to be delivered. And I asked, well, when would you like the items to be delivered? Because, I'm about to leave in a couple of minutes, so who's going to be here to bring in these items? Oh, I'll get someone. Again, I've learned to no longer debate and worry about the logistics. If she says that she has it handled, she has it handled. So I ordered the items, let the dog out, let the dog back in, put away some of her trash, give her some more diapers, give her some more pads. So she was all set up in that aspect. And then I left. And as I turned to leave, she's like, well, what am I going to do with all of this? So I asked her, well, what would you like me to do? I thought, I'll get someone. I turned my little behind, I was going to say my fat behind, because up until a year and something ago, it was fat, so I'm still used to not saying my fat ass. So I turned my behind around and left. It's disheartening that things have to be this difficult. And I have to behave in a way that is not natural to me. And that's not to say that I'm not a difficult person or can't be a difficult person, because I am every bit my mother's child. But I am generally a generous, good-hearted person. Where I can help, I help. And certainly if I can help, I try to do no harm. But with her, I have to just throw logic to the side and just try to err on the side of peace. Because it's to the point that when I have to have these blowouts with her, they leave me feeling physically ill. Because again, she can be very vile, very vulgar, very insulting. And I have learned to meet her in the gutter. So, and I know it's been in the news lately when people in social media people talking about our former First Lady Michelle Obama, who was saying that um, uh, when they go low, they go high. Um, and I've learned that when they go low, I can go lower. Um, Let me put this cat down. You go play. So, my therapist and I are working on my avoiding going into the gutter by disengaging, by seeing patterns and stopping them right there. Now, undoubtedly, when this story is sold to uh, the neighbor or whoever else is going to come there to help her, she will paint it as if she was left in distress and abandoned with all of these things around, and she needs their help because, my cold hearted self just left her in that terrible position. She'll, of course, not offer up to them that I offered to do the cooking. And my offering to cook is not out of place because about 2 years ago, when she was unable to do for herself, and she was to the point where she could not change herself, she could not wash herself, she could not take care of her bodily functions by herself. I had to do all of that. And if you knew any of my friends, they would tell you that for years I told them that that would be my number one fear and hell on this earth, to have to be in the position to do that, not because I would feel some way about doing that for my mother. No, my fear was that I would have to do that, and at the same time, she would be saying vile, hurtful things to me. Um, and I'm not clairvoyant. I can't see the future, but I called that one because the very thing that I was most afraid of became my reality. And there was nothing funny, fun, or lighthearted about that situation. But I said all that to say that during that time, I also cooked, I worked. um, you know, One of the benefits of COVID, and I'm so sorry for all the people who lost loved ones and for whom it was just devastating and disastrous for their family and for them emotionally. But for me, one of the benefits was being able to work remotely, which afforded me the opportunity to be able to move back down to the southern part of my state to be able to be there for her. So I was working. At that time, she refused to get an aide. So all of her care was on me, except for 1 hour a day where, because she was on hospice, uh, we had someone who would come like 1 hour a day to help out in the morning. But the rest of it was on me. So I was doing things that, again, people who know me would tell you. Um, I can cook, but I guess I would call myself a lazy cook because unless there is something that I have a taste for, that I feel that it wouldn't be done right unless I personally do it, I tend to order out. Um, but she had different tastes for things, and I became Betty Crocker. I jumped my behind in that kitchen and I was making, neck bones and rice and all of the little things that she wanted. I was whipping up these dishes. Um, Instead of, opening up the can to make beans, I became someone who was soaking beans. And, like I said, a regular Betty Crocker. Forgive me. And it turned out good. I mean, I enjoyed it. She enjoyed it. So I guess in part I'm a little taken aback that she doesn't want me to cook for her. But in part I'm not, because somehow she has this irrational thought that I have at some point been poisoning her cigarettes, poisoning her Christian brother brandy, um, which I kind of find laughable because, again, almost 2 years ago, she was on hospice. She was in terrible shape. And me and the nurse were scrambling our minds trying to figure out what we can do to get her to respond, to eat, because she was on failure to thrive. So, you know, if I would try to get her to eat, she would claim, oh, I can't, I'm full, I can't, I'm full, I can't. And she would, almost become argumentative about it. So the nurse was like, this is not the healthiest thing, but why don't we try with something that she cannot sort of resist? And so then I'm like, let me try with candy then. So it started with candy and cookies. And so she began to eat a little bit and she would eat more and more. And so that then helped stimulate her appetite to where she started being able to then eat regular meals. She got stronger and that pulled her back from the brink. Um, so I sort of find it insulting and laughable when uh, if I didn't want her here, I could have just simply threw my hands up in the air and did absolutely nothing. But again, her memory of recalling things are based upon her narrative. She doesn't see, again, the full story of things. I give credit where credit is due. Whether I'm livid with someone or whether we're in the best state, what they have done positive, they've done positive in my point of view, and what they have done negative, they've done negative in my point of view. Um, but clearly, if they are or were a part of someone's life, they had to have brought something good to the table. I just had to get that off of my chest. Um, because I believe it, but and a part of me just doesn't believe it. I'm just, and I guess I don't understand, and I know I'm trying to be logical about something that's sort of illogical, but I'm just trying to figure out what is her mind state. Does she think that the aide is going to pull the hot plate up and cook for her in her room. Um, and maybe that's what she wanted me to do, but you know, that was not going to happen. I was not going to pull the hot plate up and be the sous chef and have her sitting there like the lady of the manor while I sit there and cook uh, while she supervises, just to keep her from thinking or feeling that her food could somehow be poisoned. Uh, I was not going to waste hours of my time doing that just to placate her. But I'm at peace with my decision. Um, I've since ordered my own. So, since the cleaning got her stamp of approval, I now know where to order this soul food from myself, which I have done. So, you know, there's a reason for everything. So, all in all, this will turn out to be a positive experience because I will now be able to have it whenever I want it. Thank you for sitting and listening and accompanying me. And as we have more of these chats, I will go more into my background, um, her background, and what exactly led us here to this point. It did happen overnight, and chapter by chapter, verse by verse, I'm going to break down this story. Thank you all. Good night.